Hello, this is Sheshachalam from Astroguide Mysore. Today, let us understand how the combination of Mars and Saturn works. This combination is, taken up by many astrologers in many books in their commentaries and have suggested lot of, variations in the Karakatvas of each planet. I am taking only around 5 or 6 major significations. Karakatvas means significations of Mars and Saturn because the whole list of Mars and Saturn cannot be covered in a video. Though this video will be long, I'll not be able to cover that much. So I will try to make multiple videos like part 1, 2, 3, and 4 if it is possible to cover most of the significations so that the combination of these two um, abstract opposites can be understood. Mars, as you all know, is a fiery planet, hot planet, high in activity, agility, very active. It's like alert. Saturn, on the other side, is docile, calm. He easily surrenders, bends, very naive, experienced, but doesn't unnecessarily get involved in other issues and unnecessary issues. So I'm just telling you just the character, the behavioral character of Mars and Saturn. Now let me go through each and one and every point slowly because all those points which I spoke now are not covered. I'll be covering those characteristic analysis in the later days. But let us go through the major points. We know that Mars is Kumara. Kumara means adolescence, like a teenage. And we have Saturn, which is old age. Just entering into old age, where you get into 60s, 70s, and you get into the weakness, where the body is not fully responding to what you are eating for, what you are working out for. Your body will start lagging behind. You are no more a teenager. You cannot run those 100 meters the way you ran when in school. Mars wants you to achieve, but Saturn would want Mars to cool down, relax. So, the combination of Mars and Saturn in young age for children is not that great if it is posited in bad placements. So now people are continuously asking me, then how do you consider one particular placement is good for a planet, and how do you consider this particular placement is bad for a planet? That is a huge topic altogether, and I have done some videos on it. Me and my wife keep doing some research on these subjects. We have a lot of data. So when we do the research, we come to a conclusion on particular planets. So this particular placement of Mars and Saturn will give extraordinary results. There will be negative effects also. It's not that if it is sitting in a placement that it will give only benefit results. Please don't get into that, get carried away with that particular point. So, if Mars and Saturn are placed in the Upachaya sthanas, the third, the sixth, the 10th, and the 11th, they will give you extraordinary results, very good results. But the same placement, if it is placed in a benefic position, fifth house, fourth house, ninth house, they will give you very good results in certain areas. But the negative results will look more heavier to manage, difficult to manage. The fourth house, Mars is the Karaka for house building, Karaka for earth moving, Karaka for so many things. Saturn is also the Karaka for house building, going through the struggle of house building, having your own house. But when these two fellows come and join and sit in the fourth house, the native will find it so difficult to own a house. The native will see that there are so many Badhakas. See, this is the point. Badhaka. So, what is a Badhaka? A planet which becomes an obstacle to a certain signification of a certain house. Then it becomes a Badhaka. Like, for example, when Venus sits in the seventh house, it becomes Badhaka for marriage. When Sun sits in the seventh house, it becomes a Badhaka for even finding a match. There are many instances that Sun in the seventh house might give what we call as engagement, and then that not going forward and break of engagement. So these things can happen. So here, when this combination of Mars and Saturn is posited in a child's chart, let us say before the 8th year or the 10th year, and it is badly posited, like the 8th house, the toughest position of this particular combination is the 8th house, because Mars is aggressive, Saturn is cool. They have a lot of friction, and friction. It's now when I teach in the college, I would be teaching. I was always teaching this particular combination as you are applying a lot of acceleration with the brakes on. What will happen? The brakes start rubbing. The vehicle wants to jump into action, and when you suddenly leave the brakes or you remove the brakes with the acceleration, you will end up in a disaster. You will jump into something. Or if you keep running like that, it will heat up and it will break down. So this is a combination of motivation and depression. It is a combination of want to achieve everything now here, but Saturn tells we'll do it later. Mars wants it now and here. I want it here, just now. But Saturn is like, no, 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 no. Let's wait. No hurry. Let's wait. We'll do it later. So this combination is tough. So the particular point, it's a huge conflict. The point what I was discussing, I'll come back to it, that if it is sitting in the 8th house, the 12th house for children in their horoscope, and the Mars Dasha is running, the Saturn Dasha is running, Saturn Mars combination has come within that particular period of time with 9 years or 10 years. Be careful. The bone marrow, the Vata Roga. Vata means airy problems, like there are fiery bilious problems, and there is a Vata is because of the gaseous problems, typhoid, weakness of that is the potency of the blood, getting into anemia. These things can get affected to the child. These things can also happen to an adult, but very rare, because Mars affects the young age, Saturn affects the old age. The middle, they don't want to unnecessarily, trouble you, because those middle ages are controlled by Venus, Jupiter. Other people are there to take over that particular spot. We have Nama Surya, Chandraya, Mangalaya, the third fellow. Then we have Buddha, Buddhaya, Shukra, Guru, Shukra. Buddha, Guru, Shukra. That is Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus. So these fellows will take care of the middle age. And then comes Saturn, who tells that, you are now stepping into my era of where I will show what I can do. So Saturn will teach. He is a great teacher. So he will teach us philosophy of life. Mars, he is a learner. It's like a learner meeting an age-old experienced person, and these two people sitting together. So Mars has a lot of strength, muscular strength, and Saturn is very timid. He doesn't want to move a muscle at all. He wants to get things done. He's very experienced. He's an old man, so he doesn't want to move a muscle. So people who are having this combination, which is very close by, and if there is a Graha Yuddha between Mars and Saturn, which is like within 1 degree from each other, then there is a chance that these people can go through difficulties of the muscle, difficulties of the leg, fractures due to fall, due to accidents, unnecessary, in the young age, we have seen many children unnecessary climbing trees, slipping down, falling down, breaking their ankle, breaking their, putting a, steel rod inside, steel rod, Saturn, bone broken, and muscle tone, Mars. So these things are seen. Same way, if there is a Graha Yuddha between Mars and Saturn and it is sitting in the 10th house, I'm just giving you an example. People can go through sudden violence, or they will not take what is said to them in the meeting. There would be some altercations between the boss and the subordinate, or between the parallel, verticals, that is two people of the same level, and because of the spur of the moment, you might leave the job. Mars Dasha, Saturn Bhakti, and Saturn Dasha, Mars Bhakti. I have seen many people suddenly throw their papers, come home after 4 days, it's got accepted. They are not getting any other job. Now they are calling back to their office asking, whether they can be reinstalled, or, it's such a humble situation, such a difficult situation. Mars does not want to get humiliated, and Saturn is okay, he can take some compromise. So, a weak Saturn will surrender. A weak Mars will also not surrender. A weak Mars will become more egoistic. A strong Mars will fight then and there and he will settle it there. He doesn't have any ego or anything like that. So, a weak Mars becomes very egoistic. So, if we have a weak Mars and a weak Saturn, a person will surrender, but internally he will have the boiling instinct. He can't do or say anything, but he has to go through the obligation.
Cold-blooded plants, what you say.
Correct. One is a hot blood, the other one is a cold blooded. So when they both mix and the hot blood is weak now, that is Mars is weak, Saturn is also weak. Where is the strength? So these people need to do remedial measures. So the best remedial measure for a weak Mars and a weak Saturn is to first play sports, good circulation of blood, wake up in the morning, do Surya Namaskar, the yogic kriya, do Surya Namaskar in front of the sun, facing the sun. Let us say at the time of sunrise, the sun is mild, you don't have to get burnt there. So 10 minutes of Surya Namaskar will really charge you up. Eat a lot of fresh fruits, which can give you a lot of energy, because Mars Saturn will suck up a lot of energy. Because this is the friction. When there is a lot of heat, what do you use? Coolant. When there is heat in the engine, what do you use? Coolant. When there is heat in the body, what can you use? Water and fruits. You can't do anything else here. You can't use coolants. The other ones, which are very dangerous for Mars and Saturn, they directly affect your liver. So, people who are having Mars and Saturn, please be far away from alcohol. Never unnecessarily get involved into that, because I'll not call it an objectionable drink, but for you people, if you are having Mars and Saturn in the Lagna, or the Lagnadipati is along with Mars and Saturn, it will create a havoc in your life. It will spoil your family, it will spoil your business, it will spoil your financial status. Do not get addicted to any substance abuse, including alcohol. So, if there is a weak Mars and an afflicted Saturn, like let us say the combination is along with Rahu now, Mars, Saturn, and Rahu, you might get subjected to abuse, you might get subjected to physical abuse always does not mean it happens from one gender to another gender. Bullying is also abuse. It has come to the level that nowadays in schools and colleges, bullying can be directly, reported, and it is considered as abuse. The stronger ones trying to put their physical pressure on the weaker ones. So Mars, Saturn, when weak and along with Rahu, can get unnecessarily get involved into these type of situations, physical abuse, and that has to be reported. And these people are timid. Rahu is surrendering, Mars is boiling inside. He is not able to tell, and Rahu is also there, which confuses the whole situation. They will tell, if you tell your dad, I will do this tomorrow to your, so they will be afraid. They will go through it. So people who are having this, that your son is having this or your daughter is having this, see that you are able to get into the lively, the day in and day out activities of your children. Don't simply blindly believe, you know, when you're sending your child alone in a taxi, or you're sending your child to school, to a new place until he or she acclimatizes to the situation. You people need to be a little aware. I don't want you to be like a supervisor there sitting on the head of the child. Please don't. He should not even know. You should do these things. So, I have, I think, done a lot of things. Okay. One more thing is very important here. Nowadays, we are going through this problem. Mars, they have a lot of energy to work. They can do two jobs at a time. Moonlighting. This is happening nowadays. People, it's allowed in many countries. It's even allowed in India also in certain cases, certain jobs, in private jobs. When people finish their job and again come back home, they have a small catering system. They have, they make kachoris, they make, jalebis in the evening. They want to make an extra buck. Nothing wrong in that. Moon, Saturn, if they are well placed, you can do that. But if they are badly placed, what happens is that you get frustrated in the regular job where you are happy, you are getting the monthly salary, and you think that I can jump into business, I will make more money, I don't have to do this donkey's work. You will neither be a donkey. You will actually jump out of the job and go into the hot soup. You will not be here or there. So you should know that the placement of Mars and Saturn, if they are yoga karakas, and if they are placed with a certain distance between them, let's say 7 or 8 degrees, they can also be giving you tough time. It's like you go to a job from 7 to 5, you do a job, again come back home 6 o'clock, you are doing, your wife is ready with all the items, and you and your wife both have a small shack where you run a 4 hour dining beautiful thing. You make a lot of money there, and you can accommodate certain things in your life. Luxury is not, forget about luxury. Normal life itself has become costly nowadays. So this option is there with Mars and Saturn. So it's a nice thing to do. So I think I have one more point for today. Yeah, if Mars and Saturn are Yogakarakas and they are well placed in the sixth house, let us say Saturn is exalted in sixth house, Mars is along with Saturn. Mars becomes the, if it is in the sixth house, that means that it is Vrishabha Lagna. Vrishabha Lagna, the seventh lord in the sixth house, being the 12th lord in the sixth house, it gives rise to a Viparita Raja Yoga. And if, let us say, Saturn is exalted, Saturn is having more degrees than Mars, and they are conjunct within 7 or 8 degrees, you can see these people doing wonderful jobs like doctors, like surgeons, service engineers, excellent placement for professional skill. Okay, but there is a difficulty here because married life can go through a struggle, because 7th lord going to the 6th house, the 12th from the 7th, 12th from the 6th, 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 12th from the 7th, 12 along with Saturn, the Karma Karaka, because the 10th Lord, 9th and the 10th Lord. So there are some things which work, some things which don't. So you should know how to evaluate a chart when you are going through combinations, which is not easy. So we find clusters of planets, 5 planets together, 4 planets together, which will come later. Let us first deal with 2 planets. One planet itself was so difficult, we finished it. So we are coming to 2 planets now. Thank you very much for today's class.